very much. We're here today to dedicate a Civil War monument, but it's much more than that. One of the things I want to talk to you about, and a lot of you here, just by virtue of being here, understand what I'm about to say to you. Normally I take these opportunities to be lighthearted and say a few things off the cuff, and I never get really serious, but today I really wanted to do that because I was thinking about that this morning driving in, and what came to my mind is responsibility, and the responsibility of our heritage, recording that, remembering that, and passing it on. I'm a historian. I'm a director of the archives here in the county, but more than that, I take the responsibility to record history as it is, so that the generations that come after us understand the way the world was when we were in it. It's very important to understand where you came from in order to know where you're going. And that, as a historian, is one of my main tasks, is trying to develop a better understanding of our past so we know who we are. And as a student of history over the past numerous years, that's the one thing that you, as a historian, you're really charged with doing, is understanding the past, transferring that information on without bias, without revision, so that you can understand your heritage. And all of you here today, by virtue of being here, understand that. Many of you are historians in one aspect or another. So you understand the importance of passing on what happens on a day-to-day basis so that the next generation will understand that. And we're here today to pass on an understanding of our deep heritage in Baldwin County, that being the American Civil War. What I need to point out to you, and what I think most of you understand, is that to me, in my understanding of the Civil War, it was a tremendous tragedy. And many of you, you may not think about it in this way, but I'd like for you to try to give it a chance to think about it in this way, is that everyone killed in the war except for a handful of foreign expeditionaries who were here to be on an adventure, except for a handful of people, the over 600,000 men who died in the American Civil War were Americans. And they died fighting for a cause that they believed in, whether that was to establish a new union, to save the old union, or to simply protect a lifestyle that they had come to love and understand as their own. And that is our legacy today. Everybody standing here today, this presentation, you live the legacy of the American Civil War, whether you understand that or not. You do. And it's our duty to continue to pass on that information to the generations beyond us. And with the dedication of this monument here today, that's what we're doing. It sets in stone, literally, the past so that we don't forget it. And you've all heard the old adage, if you forget the past, you're doomed to repeat it. Well, you know, I'm paraphrasing that, but it makes sense. And we as human beings repeat our mistakes over and over again if we don't attempt to learn from them. And the people here today, you're all charged with passing on that heritage and passing on that history, that past, as fact. Not folklore, but fact. And that's why we're here today. That's why the people gathered behind me are here today. They're all historians, and they're all here in an effort to pass on that knowledge to a future generation. And with that said, I'd like to talk to you just one moment before I introduce to you our keynote speaker, the importance of you all making sure that you pass this information on, that you forward this to the generations beyond you because of its importance. Because as I said earlier, understanding the past assists us in moving along this path we live on and understanding where we're going. And with us today as our keynote speaker is a longtime Baldwin County representative. He stands up for us in Montgomery. He has worked with the Bicentennial Park and helped us create what we have here today. He's been an ardent supporter of us at the county. He's been a friend of mine since I've been here in the county. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you Representative Joe Faust.
Thank you, John. Thank you for inviting me here today. It's a privilege to be here to such as this dedication to this memorial for the Civil War. And I looked in back of me, and we got just as many Yankees as we have rebels. So anyway, so we can't accuse us of being bipartisan or anything like that. I'm so proud of this Baldwin County, and I've been looking into some of the history of it, and just listening to some of the historians talk. And I thought about it this morning on the way up here, that we're so fortunate to have all this great history right here among us. I thought about last December, I was up here making a little talk, and it was freezing cold. And I thought about the people then, that they couldn't run up to the stagecoach and get a hot cup of coffee or a good hot meal to warm them up. And so I'm thinking today here we stand in this hot sun, and we can run up to the stagecoach and get a cold glass of ice cold tea and a good lunch. But those folks back then had to endure what they had. And this person was telling me yesterday, my goodness, about the mortars firing and the limbs breaking above their heads and their buddies falling dead and doing what they had to endure. And that's such a part, whether it's on the blue side or the gray side, it's such a part of who we are. I believe with all my heart that whatever we've done in our past is who we are today. And I believe whatever went on in our country is what we are today. It's how we achieve it. And I think that we're in a time period right now, and I heard a little joke the other day, and I'm going to tell it. My preacher told it, so it's clean. It said that the little boy was standing out in the railroad yard, and he was watching the trains go by back and forth. And he said that the fellow thought he'd have a little fun with the little boy, and he walked out there and he said, "Son," he said, "if you saw a train coming from this direction and one coming from this direction, and they're both on the same track, what would you do?" He said, "I'd go get my brother." He said, "Why would you go get your brother?" He said, "'Cause my brother ain't never saw a train wreck either." So that's kind of, I think about our country. We think we're in a train wreck, but also I just want to say that we are strong people. We come from a great heritage, and this is one of the things that I picked up that I'm not. Looks like a whole lot to say, but it's really not. And it's something that a fellow named Alexis Tocqueville. He was a Frenchman. Came to the United States to learn what our secret was. And here's what he said: "I sought for the greatness and genius of America in our commodious harbors and her ample rivers, and it was not there. I looked in her fertile fields and boundless forests, and it was not there. In her rich mines and her vast world commerce, and it was not there. In her democratic Congress and her matchless Constitution, and it was not there. Not until I went into the churches of America and heard her pulpits aflame with righteousness did I understand the secret of her genius and power. America is great because she is good. If she ever ceases to be good, she will cease to be great." I read that on the door of my 4th grade class, and it never has left me. I think that's what we need to live by, is goodness and goodness to all people. And I thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Faust. Next, I'd like for us to introduce a couple of gentlemen who are going to speak in detail, not too much detail because of the heat, but of both the Union and the Confederacy and the importance that both sides attributed to the 4 years of battle that they were a part of. First up, I'd like to introduce to you my colleague, the director of the park, Nick Warren.
Morning. This might be a surprise to some of you that know me, but I'm going to talk to you about the Union. A lot of people that know me personally know that I'm descended from John B. Gordon, who's a great Confederate general. I'm descended from Robideau Wheat, who commanded the 1st Louisiana Special Battalion. What you may not know is I also had 3 other ancestors that fought in the Iron Brigade for the North, and I'm equally proud of them. I grew up in southwest Louisiana where Yankees were evil. As I became a historian, though, I came to understand the Union a little bit better. When I was a real soldier out in the real world, I also found out what being a soldier is all about. And whether you wore blue or gray, it was just a matter of where you were from. One thing that we fail to remember as Southerners is the North, although they did invade us, were here for a reason. And a lot of times we assign their reasons to things that weren't true. The reason they were here was they were fighting to preserve the Union. Now, sometimes we get convoluted in our sentiments and our sectionalism of being Southerners, but if I asked any of you, do you love the United States? Each one of you would answer, yes, we do. Well, guess who brought you the United States? It was the Union Army. The Union Army believed in its heart that we stood strong as a group, not as a separatist country. Those boys were willing to put their lives on the line just like our boys in the South were. If you look at battles like Fredericksburg, Kennesaw Mountain, a variety of other fights, those Union soldiers were cut down and cut down and cut down. But what did they do? They kept coming. I ask any of you, can you not be proud of an American that believes in those convictions strong enough that he will keep coming? That's what we are founded on, is greatness, courage, and conviction. We lost the war, but I like to think we lost the war to a better tomorrow. We became the United States. If we look at America before the Civil War, we were not the United States. We were these United States. And none of you were Americans. You were Virginians, you were Alabamians, you were Georgians, you were New Hampshire men, you were wherever you were from, you were connected to your state. After the Civil War, we became Americans. A lot of times we forget such instances as Nathan Bedford Forrest's grandson was killed in a bombing raid over Germany, fighting for the United States. Many of us here have fought for these United States. Our fathers fought for these United States. That is a legacy that the Union Army helped bring, whether we like it or not. I do ask each of you, though, to look in your hearts and realize that those are our fellow Americans. Those are our fellow U.S. servicemen. Many gave their last full measure for what they believed in. And I believe that what they believed in was the right thing, which was a United States. If we look at the challenges we faced in the 20th century, into this century, we could not have survived as a separated country. It was all brought to us because of those boys from the North that so ardently fought to preserve this Union. There's a gentleman standing here today. We got talking one time about how we looked at things. And I pointed out to him, had I been growing up in Louisiana in 1840, came to age in 1861, I would have fought for the South. If I had grown up in Ohio in 1840, gone to war in 1861, I would have fought for the North. That's just being an American. It has nothing to do with being Southern or Northern. It has to be doing with being an American and what you hold dear. Please keep that in mind. Respect our soldiers from the past. Respect our soldiers for today. Respect them in the future. Thank you.
Our next guest I'm honored to bring forward to you, representing the St. John Richardson Liddell chapter of the Military Order of Stars and Bars. He is the commander of that organization, and his organization, we're proud to say, funded the monument that you see here today. They're also funding a brick paver project that will be a part of this monument structure in the future. I'd like to introduce to you an honored friend of mine, Mr. Burt Blackman.
Hello, welcome to this dedication of the Civil War Monument. And as John said, I am the commander of the St. John Richardson Liddell chapter of the Military Order of the Stars and Bars. For those of you unfamiliar with our group, we are a men's group. Sorry, ladies. Y'all are welcome to attend the meetings, though. Composed of men who are descended and blood kin to officers of the Confederate Army and members of the Confederate government. In a shameless promotion of our group, any of you gentlemen who feel you meet that qualification, we want to talk to you. Our organization was founded in 1936 by some of the last surviving Confederate officers, and recognizing their impending mortality, they founded the group, and within a year, time did what Lincoln's Army could never do. It completely wiped the Confederate officer corps off the face of the earth. That's the officer corps that Winston Churchill said was the finest in the history of humanity. These stones are being placed in a garden of stones. They're just a piece of rock, just a little sliver of some mountain. They've been shaped and they've been formed into a shape that's pleasing to the eye, but that's all they are, a piece of rock, until words are carved into them. To Southerns, the words on this side of the stone whisper things. They whisper places to us. Manassas, Chickamauga, Gettysburg, Fort Morgan, Blakely, and hundreds of other places that we all have heard and we all have in our hearts. They speak to us of names. Names that blaze through the years just as if they lived yesterday. Longstreet, Polk, Jackson, Stewart, Lee, Davis, and whole brigades of other names, including our own ancestors. We dedicate the Confederate side of this stone to those brave, young Baldwin County men of 1861, and most of them were very young men, who served that brief, war-torn republic known as the Confederate States of America. And we see it also as a reminder of our blood relatives from all across this great sprawling Southland. All of our relatives who wore the gray, and to 1.5 million others. While they may not be our blood, they are our Southern brothers. And I did not write this in, and that was my omission. We need to also honor those Southern women. They were as tough as an iron pole wrapped in a piece of barbed wire. They took care of home business, and in some cases even picked up weapons and went and fought. They were Southern through to their very core. In closing, I want to read a short poem by Father Abraham Michael Ryan, the poet laureate of the Confederacy and a chaplain in the Confederate Army. He's resting in Catholic Cemetery in Mobile in a grave surrounded by the little children that he loved and defended and cared for in life. The poem is entitled CSA. Do we weep for the heroes who died for us, who living and true and tried for us, and dying sleep side by side for us, the martyred band that hallowed our land with the blood they shed in a tide for us? Ah, fearless on many a day for us, they stood in front of the fray for us, and held the foe at bay for us, and tears should fall for overall. Who fell while wearing the gray for us? How many a glorious name for us? How many a story of fame for us they left? Would it not be a blame for us if their memories part from our land and our heart, and a wrong to them and a shame for us? No, no, no. They were brave for us, and bright were the lives they gave for us. The land they struggled to save for us will not forget its warriors yet, who slept in so many a grave for us. On many and many a plain for us, they blood poured down all in vain for us, rich, red, and pure, like a rain for us. They bled, we weep. We live, they sleep. All lost, the only refrain for us. But their memories e'er shall remain for us, and their names, bright names, without a stain for us. The glory they won shall not wane for us. In legend they lay, our heroes in gray shall forever live over again for us. If any of you gentlemen are interested in our group, we would love to have a word with you. And if any of you ladies have men folk that qualify, we'll talk to you too. Thank you very much, and I hope you'll come forward and read the stone.
Thank you, Bert.
Attention, battalion. Load. Colors online. March. Ready? At extreme elevation. Aim! Very high. High. Fire! Recover. Arm. Load. Ready! At extreme elevation, aim! Fire! Recover, arm! Load! Ready! At extreme elevation, aim! Fire! Recover, arm! Prime. Ready! At extreme elevation, aim! Fire! Recover, arm! Order, arm! Place, rest.